with chiropractic, I don't think necessarily that Jesse is healing someone per se. I would say he would help speed up
the process
of recovery.
Yeah.
You know,
Love that.
Because I would talk to patients like, I'm not healing you.
It's your natural body, right?
What I do is I'm just, removing all the scar tissue, removing all the toxins, making sure your joints are moving so that your body can properly heal. I don't ever really push patients to come in, right? Because there's a lot of misconception that, hey, if you go to a chiropractor, you have to go for the rest of your life. I don't want to force them to come. I want them to come on their own because they feel better and it just helps them, with their daily life.
Jesse?
Man, what did I have for breakfast? I don't think I had breakfast this morning, man. I just, I fasted and I had sushi for lunch.
Okay,
Yeah.
nice.
I had brunch. I had eggs Benedict.
Ooh. Yeah. Dang, these guys knows how to do it. I had, I'm going to get here with my boring breakfast. I had 3 eggs and 2 English muffins.
Yeah. I remember when I first met you, when we went to come film here, you had same thing. Well, it was like, that's what I remember,
I've been doing it for a long time, man. It works.
I was like, yeah, that looks good and plain. And you're like, yeah.
That's what works, Sean, what'd you have?
I did not have breakfast this morning, unfortunately, guys. I just had a cup of coffee and a protein shake. Protein bar. That was it.
Oh, nice.
That was it. Definitely would have wanted a more substantial breakfast, but that's just
I need to take some notes from these guys.
Look like. Yeah.
What does, tell me, are you guys, first question. Yeah. Are you guys both doctors in the office or is it just
No,
you?
it's just me.
Okay.
Yeah. So I'm a chiropractor. Jennifer, she was a teacher. She's been in education for a pretty long time. Was it 5 years?
6 years.
6 years, 5 years. And, her passion was teaching and education. But, ultimately we talked about one day wanting to open a business, and that's when I was an associate. It didn't really hit us till I had a kid, right? And basically, once we had a kid, we realized like, oh shit, we need to start thinking about our future and what we're gonna do. And we took a leap of faith and opened a practice like 3 years ago.
Wow. And what did you do before that?
So I'm a chiropractor, right?
Okay,
Before that, just went to school. I had part-time jobs. I worked at Chili's, and but other than that, my first career, where I'm still doing, is chiropractic.
Okay.
You did for 5 years. You worked under someone for 5 years.
Yeah, I was an associate chiropractor for 5 years.
Gotcha. Okay. Yeah, you said associate. I wasn't sure in what field, like a different field or this field or. Okay, and you still teaching? Or?
Oh no, I love teaching and I love kids, but they really test you. And when we were talking about having kids, he really wanted kids, and in the beginning I did too. But after teaching for a while, it was just too much. So I was like, dude, I can't do both. I could either be a teacher or I can be a mom. I can't be both. Yeah. And he was like, well, quit teaching. So I stopped teaching. But Jesse and I have been together for almost 15 years. So within that time frame, we've talked about what we wanted and how we wanted our lives to look. And so we've always wanted to own something that we can pass down to our kids. So that's why when I was pregnant with my second, I think that's whenever we started looking for something. The first thing we tried to do was buy a donut shop.
Okay.
Yeah.
And that didn't work out.
No, it was like any type of business. Like we just wanted to be our own bosses and, start something. And, there's no chiropractic offices for sale that we saw, and we saw a donut shop. We were like, shit, maybe if we just hustle for a couple years, we buy this donut shop, make enough, and then maybe we can,
reinvest it into something else. And I was like heavily pregnant too at that time with the second. So
oh my gosh.
I don't know how we thought that was going to work, but.
So what was the decision maker to pass on the donut shop?
So
they sold it to someone else.
So y'all were ready.
Yeah,
so we were ready.
We put
our earnest money, and the owner was like, hey, we have somebody that can close this week. Can you close this week? And
we were trying to talk it down. They're like, no, they want it. Like, they'll buy it at the asking price. And we're just like, that's like
that's a tactic.
Yeah, we thought it was a tactic.
Yeah, so
exactly.
Okay, whatever, right? And then they called us that week and was like, hey, come pick up your earnest money. Like, we already sold it.
Well, at least they gave you back the earnest money. Because I'm pretty sure legally they don't have to do that.
They do.
They do.
Yes, they do.
It's wild.
Yeah. So we went and got our earnest money back, which I'm glad we did because it was like an hour away too. And
we were ready to hustle, dude. We were ready to hustle for sure.
It was a lot.
And how long between that, like not following through and getting? Did you buy a chiropractic
Yeah.
office,
We
or did
tried
you?
to, and
We tried to.
that like we lost more than half of our
Savings. Yeah. So essentially, we found a listing of a chiropractic office in Alvin. And, I told my boss, we were like, hey, I'm going to put in my 2 weeks. We found an office. It doesn't void my non-compete. We're going to go ahead and purchase this practice. And, obviously she wasn't too happy about it. But, at the end of the day, we have to take care of ourselves and our family.
Sure.
So long story short, we signed a bad contract. We put a huge down payment on it, and the actual owner never had the intention of selling the practice. Yeah.
How did it get listed then?
So what happened was, can I
Go ahead.
Yeah, so he's not a chiropractor himself. So he bought the chiropractic clinic from a chiropractor who was a good chiropractor but not a good businessman. And then that chiropractor had moved out, and so they couldn't keep a chiropractor in. So then he was like, you know what? Instead of looking for another chiropractor, I'm just going to sell it. And so I took out my 401k. Like we had like 50,000. I think we lost 30 on this deal. Yeah, so we only had 20 to live on later, but that's for the later story. But so what happened was, I think they were seeing like 15 patients a week, and Jesse jumped in, and it went up to 100 a week in like 3 months.
Oh my
We were only
gosh.
there for 2 or 3 months, not even that long. And he saw him as a cash cow, so he was trying to get more money off of him. Pun intended, because her last name's Cao. But
That's
yeah,
so good.
yeah.
Because we couldn't buy it outright. So when it comes to medical practices, I have to get my insurance credentialing transferred over, which takes 30 to 60 days. So essentially I told him, I was like, hey, we can't just buy it outright. Let's have a transition period, right? And he's like, okay, cool. Let's write up a contract. You'll put your money to show that you're really interested in having it. So it's a very open-ended contract, right? And basically for any of us to close, we both have to agree. And so whenever I was ready to close to take over practice, he was like, I'm not ready.
He was just trying to
Yeah, he
make a
kept
little bit more money.
prolonging
He just wanted to
everything.
increase the profits for a
Yeah,
period of
yeah.
time.
Before he left, just to get as much money. I think he was just trying to recoup what he already lost.
Because y'all already
before.
had an agreement price.
had
it.
He
Had
couldn't.
agreement.
He couldn't increase the sell price.
Yes,
Yeah,
exactly.
'Cause y'all had already
essentially.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So he basically saw how fast we were growing, because a lot of people were following Jesse over, and he was trying to get Jesse to market and change the hours and do this and that. And Jesse was like, hey, like, this is not how I would run my practice. He was like, well, it's not your practice. You're my employee right now, so you're going to do what I tell you to do per agreement.
It's fucking
Well,
wild.
yeah, we didn't get a
Sorry.
lawyer
No, you're
because, the crazy thing is I'm very religious, and he's like,
Man, that got me bad, dude. So he has a Bible on the front desk. He has a book on how to be Christian in the work life. He did talks at universities on how to be Christian and be closer to God. And so
in business.
she's
Oh my
really
gosh,
really
dude.
religious.
Yeah, so I was like,
she
a
was
good
really
Christian man
religious.
would want you to succeed,
Yeah.
but I learned real quick, like people who say they're good Christian people,
Yeah.
they're usually not, it's a sell tactic
Yeah.
as
Yeah,
well.
was
Like,
gonna say,
I feel like,
it's kind of
I feel like if you have
Yeah.
to say you're a good person, you're not a good person.
Yeah, you
Like, it
shouldn't
just
have to like
shows
let everyone know.
Yeah.
They should know it through your actions.
through your actions. So yeah.
But he got us good because
Got us
she's
good.
really religious. I'm fairly religious too, but she was like, I don't think he would do this to us. I don't think he would do this. And sure
did it.
enough,
It
he
was
did.
every
I had
which
nightmares.
way.
It was like one of the darkest times
How
of my
long did
life.
that draw out?
2 or 3 months.
2 or 3 months, because we
Like-
had to get an attorney to figure out what our next move was. And essentially, we came up with a plan where he pretty much voided the contract.
Because of the donut shop.
Yeah. Well,
So what happened
you can
was
tell her that,
when I went to go try to buy the donut shop, they're like, okay, so like once you sign a contract, everything is like legal unless you can get unless they can't get the lease to transfer over. So you have to talk to your what's
as
it
a
called?
landlord.
Yeah, the
Landlord.
landlord, and like have it transferred over. So long story short, we had at that clinic they had a massage therapist there where it came with where they had membership, like massage membership. Well, she quit that day that we were supposed to. So like he was burning the ship down before he was selling it to us. So she
Yeah.
quit. It was like 50 massage patients just dropped off the place, like cancel.
in my email,
cancel.
cancel membership, cancel membership, cancel membership.
Yeah, so he was
And
like burning
I
it
told,
down.
I talked to her. I was like, hey, I'm going to be taking over practice soon. I want to make sure that you're still going to stay. She's like, oh, yeah, I didn't know you wanted me. I would love to stay.
And she didn't know when we were going to close.
Yeah, so it was a surprise. So she must have talked with the actual owner.
And they canceled it.
Yeah, they canceled it.
So she quit. We got 50 canceled membership that day, and we're going to go close. And as soon as we got there, we were like, do you have the lease transferred over? And he was like, oh, no, but we can just amend the contract. And we're like, no, like, it's voided. Give me my money back.
Yeah.
And then he never did. And we're still trying to fight it, but I don't think we're going to get it back.
Yeah.
To be honest.
We've sent them our attorney sent them numerous demand letters, and he ignored it.
So what did you give him money for exactly?
So it was half
to
of
show
what-
him that prove to him that we really wanted a clinic. He
and
was like,
then that money never got counted towards the sale.
no,
It
it
was
goes
going to
towards
be
the sale.
counted
It goes
towards
towards
the
the
sale.
sale.
Okay.
Yeah. It was
Yeah.
like a down payment,
Right,
essentially,
I got
until
you.
we fully close on the
But since the
practice.
contract was voided because he couldn't have the lease transfer over, he was supposed to give us that money back.
Yeah.
You know, but
Because you can't sell a business without a lease,
lease transfer.
right?
Yeah.
That's illegal at the end of the day.
Yeah.
Yeah. So we found out more things. We found out the office manager. I mean, this story is crazy because, like, before we bought it, he was like, "I have one condition, Jesse." I was like, "I need you to keep the office manager. She's like a daughter to me. She's worked here for over 10 years. She's built this practice." And I was like, "Okay, cool. Yeah, if she's been here, I'll definitely keep her on. You know, respect to you, and you know, she built this clinic. I don't mind that, right?" You know, as soon as the contract was written, dude, she never came to the office once. And every time I asked her for help, she'd be like, "Oh yeah, I'll show you." So she was basically a ghost, right? She was never there, and her only job was to, you know, verify insurance benefits, and that's something I haven't learned yet. And so I would keep asking her, and she'd be like, "Oh, you'll find out. We'll teach you later. We'll teach you later. Just focus on the patients." I was like, okay.
It would be really awkward
This
too.
is the weirdest thing I've ever
Yeah,
heard.
so it would be
She got I'll be honest with you, she got a $50K salary and she never had to come into work.
No, and it's
Because y'all needed to keep her?
It was really
50K.
awkward.
I mean, it was,
we didn't know anything about insurance.
The owner wanted her to stay on.
Well,
Remember,
and
it was a
time-
favor to him.
Right.
Yeah,
Well,
but I mean,
but
he
we
didn't do
haven't-
you any favors.
But we haven't bought the practice yet.
We haven't bought the
Technically-
This was
Sorry,
before. This
sorry.
was
Yeah,
before.
Yeah,
so
yeah,
technically
yeah,
we're
yeah.
still employees. So she's still on a 50K salary. She never came in, and it was really awkward because, like, imagine a new patient coming in and giving you your insurance. You know, you should verify on spot. We'll like have to call her and be like, "Hey, I'm sorry, it's gonna take a few hours. Like, I don't know what like." Because she never taught anyone to do it.
Yeah.
Because it's that one thing, like, she was going to stay on because nobody else
understand.
can do it. Like, you know what I mean?
So
I'm
she didn't
following
teach
now.
anyone.
Yeah.
But the kicker is she's the actual real owner of the clinic.
On paper.
On the LLC.
What?
On the LLC, it's her.
Y'all are gonna laugh, but we're stupid. I mean, we never met the owner. He's in Switzerland. We fucked up. We fucked up pretty bad. And so she's actually the real owner. So when we served the demand letters, we actually sent it to her. But she's been dodging.
And apparently,
for the last 3-4 years.
his brother did some more digging, and they've done this to 2 other chiros.
Yeah.
So this is your current practice?
No.
No, we had a so
No.
dude.
Yeah.
We
so,
just lost
Okay,
30K
okay,
after
Yeah,
that.
so we lost
started
30,
brand new.
and then with
I was like, how are y'all operating?
yeah,
Sorry.
with
Dang,
the
everybody thinks
attorney
I'm dumb
fees,
now.
with the attorney fees, it was pushing 40K. So
Oh my God.
So she didn't have a job. She wasn't working anymore. I didn't have a job.
I was pregnant with the second.
We were pregnant with the second one. Attorney was like, "Hey, don't work right now. Let's see where this is gonna head to." So from from August, September. So from September to November, we didn't work at all. I didn't work. She didn't work.
What year was this?
This
this
was
was
2020.
2020.
2021. 2021.
Oh,
2021.
yeah.
2021.
Yeah.
And so we didn't work for 2 months, no income. We had just a little bit left of our savings. And she was like,
I think we had
"Babe,"
like 20K
like,
to our name.
Yeah,
That's
babe,
it.
she's like, "Should I go back to teaching?" And remind you, this is COVID. And I was like, shit, she's pregnant with our second one. And I was like, man, let's just
Wait it out.
let's just wait it out. And then come December, we got the green light where he was like, "Hey, you know, you're not in any violation of anything. You know, clearly he voided the contract. We sent him demand letters. You can do whatever you want. Reach out to the patients. Do whatever you want." I was like, okay, great. And so we found a place about
A small
8 minutes down the street at a gym. And we, you
It was a
know,
sportplex.
Yeah, it was a sportsplex. And we asked the owner if we could lease out a room. And so from there, we leased out a room and
how we started.
we started our clinic there. So the first month in December, we made a total of 1,500,
yeah,
1,400.
around there.
So
Something
we
like
couldn't even pay
We couldn't
rent.
even
We
pay
couldn't even pay our
rent.
mortgage.
Yeah.
And again, towards the end of the month, she's like, babe, should I go back to teaching? And I was like, man, I don't know. I was like,
No,
what do
we're
you
just
think?
like, yeah, well,
Because it is kind of frustrating, right?
Mm-hmm.
1,400. We got another baby on the way. We still got bills to pay, mortgage,
Sure.
food, everything. And then I was like, all right, I just had to think of something, and so I just started researching how to market, right? So I looked up how to do like digital marketing, like Facebook, Google, Instagram, all of that. And I told her, I was like, hey, and we were penny pinching. I was like, if you let me do 300 on, digital marketing, I think I can turn that into another 1,000. So she was like, all right, let's do
fuck
it.
it, let's do it.
Let's do it.
Yeah.
And so, everybody that came in December also came in January. And we had 80 leads in January just from my, digital marketing and ads. And I closed 50 of them. So we doubled
Nice.
in revenue. And then we're like,
Just
shit.
kept going from there.
I was like, we smiled. We're like, all right, let's just keep
think
going.
we
I
can
was
do
like, you
this,
don't need to
yeah.
teach. I was like, I'm putting our 300 in February. Everybody that came in January came back in February, and everybody that still came in December came back in, February. So we doubled again, and then we doubled again in the next month, and so we doubled for the next 4 to 5 months, getting consistent 80 to 90 leads. I was closing 60 to 70 of them, just getting them in the door. By June, we hired our first employee, or was it April?
Well, it was before that because I gave birth to Zoe in May.
Yeah.
So originally, when we started, the reason why we bought the practice was because I thought that it'd be the safer route because you would have cash flow. Because I was scared of what we were going through in December of 2021. I was like, damn, we got to have some kind of cash flow, right? I was like, I think we can really build something. We have people coming in the door already. We can retain them and maybe have them refer us patients. And obviously that didn't work out. So then we had to buy the practice, and January 2021, I think the total patient visit was 84. We saw 84 patient visits in January. And in March, we decided, you know what, we're just going to open up a second location. And so we had 2 locations in March, one in Pearland, one in Alvin, and Jesse was just we were going back and forth with both of them. And then I was like, you know what, the Alvin days, he'll be okay because it's not that busy. Then it got really busy, and I was like, no, we need someone before I leave because I was delivering in May, and we doubled the first 2 or 3 months, and then we tripled. So from January to December, I think we saw 84, and then in December, I think we saw 600. So it went from 84 a month to 600 a month in 1 year. So then I was just like, no, like you can't do this on your own anymore because originally it was just going to be him on his own. And so we hired someone in March or April, something like that. Yeah, that was our first hire. She's still with us today.
Another Cairo?
No,
a Cairo assistant.
like a front desk
Yeah.
and a receptionist.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So how
Practice
many staff
assistant.
members do you have total now?
8,
9.
9.
We're all 9.
Between the 2 locations.
Between 2 locations.
So we have a second Cairo now. We hired her last April.
Yeah, last April.
Let's talk about your the way that you retain your patients. Obviously, we've been talking a lot about like the business side, right?
Yeah, for sure.
And the struggles with that, which is amazing, by the way. So I think about things
that was insane.
the things I'm thinking
yeah.
about, like the stuff that I'm going through, and I'm like, dude, I'm nothing compared to
Yeah, it was one of my
these.
darkest times.
Yeah,
Dude, that
yeah.
is so
He
It was
ran
sink or
out.
swim.
He ran out the house. Like he sleepwalked, and he legit like ran out,
Yeah.
like dashed.
It was wild because
like stress, anxiety.
Yeah,
Yes,
stress and
that's
just
exactly
losing
what
all
it
that
was.
money.
Yeah, is that
And,
what
like,
caused is that what feeds into
That's
sleepwalking?
exactly what it is.
Yeah.
Wow.
I
Because-
never knew that.
It was
Because
really
again,
scary.
this owner, like, he just one up me every time. Like, he would have me do stuff. He was like, look at the contract. He would send me an email, highlight it. He would send me an email.
Did you ever meet him
highlight
in
it.
person?
Never met him in person. Just phone
Yeah,
calls.
we're idiots.
My
Oh
boy's
my
just
God.
I think
Yeah,
it's just
but
he
he
knew
won
we were
us, like,
desperate,
every
right?
single time.
He knew we
Yeah.
were desperate, and that's what it was. It was kind of like they're young, they're desperate, so he took advantage of it. But
He was like, I'm a man of God. I wouldn't do that to you,
Yeah, and he
Jesse.
could.
You know?
well, towards the
my
end, he was
God,
like, "Hey, you
dude.
don't even have to pay me anything; just take it," because he just signed a 5-year lease.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
he couldn't get anyone in there or anyone to buy it. He was like, you don't have to pay me anything. Just take it. We're like, nah, like, fuck you. Like, we're not taking it.
The biggest like
Yeah.
FU to us was he sold all of our equipment down the street for like $2,000 when he could have just gave it to us and, you know, be squared.
Yeah.
I mean, he already took my $30K. You might as well just give us the equipment and tables. But he found the chiro down the street to sell it to.
Yeah, all of
And
the
he
patient
knew about
files
the
and stuff.
situation I was going to. But I
So
don't
what
blame
happened
him.
to the doctor that was in this office?
There was no doctor.
There's
He
no
was the
doctor.
doctor.
Yeah.
The doctor quit. That's why they were
there
selling it.
was a doctor that quit.
Oh, the
Yeah.
doctor quit.
Yeah, so
yeah.
instead of him finding another chiro, because he couldn't find a chiro to work there.
Yeah.
And so it was like, he was like, I don't want to find another chiro. This business is already losing me money. I'm just going to sell it. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's insane.
It was
Just
wild.
so wild.
But yeah, I mean, patient retention, obviously, you know, I feel like you could be a really good doctor, but obviously you have to have really good bedside manners, right? At the end of the day. So every patient that comes in, everybody has like a specialized plan. We do a lot of personal injuries. So, you know, they're kind of required to come in, plus they're hurting. But most of the time, you know, attorneys have them coming in just because they need to come in for therapy and feel better, right? So we do a lot of personal injuries. We do a lot of cash and insurance, which is like wellness and family patients. So typically it kind of depends on their pain and their injuries, right? If it's wellness, I usually have them come in once a month. If they have an acute injury, I usually have them come in 2 times a week for the first 2 weeks. And I kind of play it by ear and see how they feel. But I don't ever really push patients to come in, right? Because I feel like there's a lot of, I guess, misconception that, hey, if you go to a chiropractor, you have to go for the rest of your life, right?
Right.
And a lot of patients are scared of that. So I always try to, I don't want to say finesse, but I don't want to force them to come. I want them to come on their own because they feel better and it just helps them, you know, with their daily life.
Yeah, that's so crazy that we almost say exactly the same thing. You know, we don't do contracts.
Yeah.
So a lot of potential clients come in and they're like, oh, well, you know, what are the contracts? Because they're used to people in personal training and in fitness, gyms make people sign contracts.
Dang, okay. So you don't do any
to
contracts.
lock them in. We don't do contracts now.
Yeah.
People, they're used to that though in our industry because what happened, like as a gym owner and as a personal trainer, we know that unfortunately a lot of people don't always know their motivation fades or whatever, and they feel like a contract will keep them coming. But we take the opposite approach. We don't do contracts because we only want people here because they want to be here, not because they have to. So everything we do is on a week-to-week basis.
Okay.
They can cancel anytime they want. It's just only 1 week notice situation because we do our billing cycles on a weekly basis instead of a monthly. So it makes it easier if they're traveling. They can more easily pause their membership and stuff because they're going to be gone for a week. They're not going to attend and we only do personal training, right?
Right.
So they're not going to attend their personal training sessions. Why are they paying for it if they're not going to attend them? You know, so we kind of take I feel like it's pretty similar to what you're saying. We're not begging anyone to come in.
That's good though.
Know?
Yeah. Because that's different. Because, you know, some of these corporate gyms, they lock you in.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. And then on top of that, you have the service fees that they tack on, and then they try to,
Maintenance
you know.
fees.
Yeah, there's like an annual fee, a monthly fee, a renewal fee. You know, we don't do any of that kind of stuff. What do you feel like? You mentioned your like the bedside manners and the customized plan and everything. Like, how do you feel that y'all's service is maybe different than another chiropractor, and that keeps them coming back? Because I do feel like chiropractors a lot of times it's like they're always looking for new. But you're talking about retain. Well, obviously you talked a little bit about the digital marketing stuff is how you get the new ones, but the retention efforts and the care and the service that you give is why you guys are successful. So can you speak on that?
So a lot of chiropractors were actually all chiropractors, there's difference, right? Every chiropractor is different in the sense of their treatment plans. There's chiropractors where they just adjust, which takes about 1 minute, 2 minutes. But there's other chiropractors that do like electrostimulation, massage, manual therapy, cupping. They kind of combine it all. So my style, we try to do, like you were saying, we try to do some of the newest and greatest things, but we keep it basic too. You know, when patients get adjusted, we want to make sure they're relaxed, right? If they're not relaxed, the adjustment's not going to go smooth. Their muscles might be guarded. So we usually start off with electrostimulation. that helps kind of loosen up the muscles. We combine it with a little bit of heat therapy. But our biggest, I guess, why patients love us the most is our manual therapy. And so that's like another form of massage. We do a lot of muscle work, right? Because majority of times, yeah, adjustments are great and everything, but a lot of people suffer from pain comes from muscles, right? You build up a lot of scar tissue, knots, adhesions, just from wear and tear, everyday activity. And when you build up all this scar tissue, your muscles, they shorten and then they tighten and then you lose your range of motion. So we really practice on removing the scar tissue, helping with the range of motion, and just making a smooth adjustment.
Yeah, so you're saying that if someone's going to see their chiropractor and they're not discussing muscle issues or anything first, that they're probably not getting a very effective treatment.
I'm not going to say effective because some people
They just need the adjustment.
they do well,
they
right?
just want the adjustment.
That's
They
fair.
stretch, they foam roll, they exercise regularly, and all they need is a little adjustment. So, I feel like it's a combination of everything that's going to give them the best results.
Yeah, I mean, it's very similar. Like what you're saying is that if someone already does those things, but a lot of your patients, they don't.
Yeah.
They don't.
So you need to do
Yeah.
that for them. It's very similar to here, you know?
We do have some patients that just come in just for the adjustment. They'll come in once a month for adjustment, and it's like clockwork. We'll
Okay.
ask them to be on the schedule because every time they come back, that's part of retention. It's like, oh, would you like to schedule? What did
Sure.
the doctor say? Whatever, right? And they're like, oh, I'll call. I usually call, and they'll come back just for the adjustment. That's all they need is the adjustment. A little bit more about the manual therapy. Like we have different types of manual therapy that we do. So we're very personalized on what the patient needs, right? So like sometimes it's going to be manual therapy with like an actual massage or like deep tissue, but then we also do cupping, we also do Graston, we also do
ART, active release technique.
yeah, so there's a bunch of different ones. We also teach them stretches. We do stretching. Our girls are trained to stretch. Dr. Cao, Jesse would come in and stretch them continuously. So it's not like he's not in the room like for 5 minutes and that's it. Like when you come to our office, it's like at least 30 minutes. The girls, like, you get stim, you get heat. They do manual therapy on you, whatever it is that they feel like they needed that day. And then he comes in and he either stretch you, does some more manual therapy, whatever he needs to do, helps you do some exercises, and then you get the adjustment and then you go. So it's not like a really quick, like, in and out, in and out.
Yeah, it's like really personalized. And then we also give them like handouts for like home exercises.
Oh,
Yeah,
perfect.
so we do have to figure it out.
That's a big thing for sure is, just coming in to see you once a month isn't going to necessarily get them where they need to be.
Mm-hmm.
Right. Especially depending on the
When
type
you're really
of,
hurt, yeah.
Yeah. And you mentioned earlier, like attorneys are sending them in because they're actually hurt.
They're
So
hurting,
Can you tell me a little bit about your standard clientele? You mentioned you have some that are that and some that are wellness, right? So
Right,
can you
right.
talk about each one and like why each one would come to see you a little different?
Yeah, so personal injuries, that's whether they've been in a car accident, slip and fall, work accident, or if they hurt themselves on like public property. So patients, obviously they need care, but they can't pay for care, right? Because it's not their fault. Not that they can't pay for care, but they need to get treated for their injuries. But, actually you could probably explain it a little better.
Is this your side of the
Yeah,
business,
yeah.
I guess? Okay.
So
yeah, tell us.
so our business is about 85% personal injury, and then
Okay.
the 15% health and wellness. Back then it was reverse, but now we're more so leaning on the other side. So with personal injury, it's more rehabilitation, and then health awareness is more habilitation. So it's a lot different. So if you're coming in as a personal injury patient, you're going to get different care than when you come in as a wellness patient. Reason being is because you're injured. So imagine you just got hit by a car. That's like what, at least $6,000 to $8,000 or 1,000 ton just hit you. Now, we don't know what's going on in your body. Do we want to adjust you that day when you come in? Of course not.
Right.
We don't know what's going on in your body. So coming in, the first 2 to 4 visits, you're not going to get the adjustment. You're not going to get the deep tissue massages because, again, we don't know what's going on. So what we do is we do have to send you out. You see a medical doctor. So there's a team, essentially, when you come in as a car accident patient or personal injury, right? We see a lot of car accidents, so that's why I say that.
Yeah, I understand.
But yeah, so when you come in as a personal injury patient, you're not going to see, you're going to be like, well, why is the doctor not adjusting you? I mean, this and that. I do have a new patient paperwork that we like go through and tell them why, right? Because everything we do happens for a reason, and it's just best practice. So we send them to medical doctor. That way they can, do what they need to do. Then they send us back and be like, hey, this is the treatment plan that you need to get on, 3 times a week for 4 weeks or whatever, right? So we see them. We're like, okay, the medical doctor says three times a week for 4 weeks, right? We send them out to MRI because, again, we don't know what's going on. So Jesse wouldn't really do the hardcore treatments. It's passive.
Yeah, I would do a lot more passive.
Very
therapies in the
passive
beginning.
treatment first, right? And then they come in and it's more so PT, right? Because again, it's rehabilitation. So they get their stem in their heat. We do a little bit of movement, like, hey, let's do some bands, let's do some PT exercises so that they can kind of loosen up those muscles, gets a little bit stretched. And then once we get the MRI, let's say that there's no positive finding, then okay, now we know what's going on in your body. Let's go ahead and personalize your treatment more. Versus, they do have positive finding. Like, okay, so now we got to send you to a pain management because obviously we can help you, but we can't really help. We have a team. Yeah. So we send them to personal pain management. That's where, they can get a steroid injection or anything, whatever the pain management doctor, suggests. Sometimes they could even get surgery. They do what they need to do over there. And then sometimes after surgery, they come back to us and then we continue our treatment with them and then.
Yeah, I love how you guys actually use other resources.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
I feel like a lot of times in chiropractic, this happens in personal training as well. Yeah. People step outside of their boundaries too much.
For sure.
I don't know if you have any input on that or what.
So same thing with that. That's why patient retention is important to us, right? Like if we didn't rely or we overstep our boundaries, these patients don't get better. Guess who they're going to blame? They're going to blame me, right? Versus me working alongside orthos, pain management, MDs. Guess what? We're all working collectively together. So even if I don't help this patient get better, and at least I made the right referral to see if they can get some other help that could help them. Mm-hmm. At the end of the day, if you don't do that, most of the time patients are going to get mad. They're like, man, you didn't help me. It was a waste of time. Why did I even come to you? And
why do you think that's not the normal in chiro?
So everybody has their own opinions, and their own thoughts on what wellness and fitness should look like, right?
That's so true.
Yes, and obviously chiropractic is very holistic. And, like the almond moms, you get what I'm saying?
So the old school chiropractors.
The crunchy moms.
Yeah. So I'll be honest with you, not to bash the old school chiropractors, the one that have been in the game, a long time ago.
But they think the spine heals everything.
I've heard some crazy stories where, I gave him 20/20 vision or, he could hear again after a neck adjustment.
Cured their cancer.
I don't know how true that is. I certainly didn't learn that in school.
That sounds like some Kenneth Copeland type stuff right there, man. What are they talking about?
But the philosophy they have is obviously
your body
an adjustment. Yeah, adjustment cures everything, and your body heals itself, right? And so I think the profession as a whole, majority of it has steered away from that.
That's good.
Yeah, obviously there's still a lot of chiros that
are straight chiropractors.
They're straight chiropractors, meaning, hey, why are you putting on kinesio tape on this arm? Why are you massaging this guy's elbow? Why don't you just adjust his neck? There's still chiros that are going to be like that.
Or medication. Why are you putting on medication?
But I guess it's just their stuff.
Do you ever have to deal with that kind of stigma? Because I'm not going to lie. I often
We do.
That's oftentimes my first thought when I hear chiropractor. It's just
I think of the joint. I think of like a place like the joint, just kind of like a real general.
You're
crack your back and see you next week. Type thing.
And I think I oftentimes think of people that are just like overstepping their boundaries with how they could heal someone.
For sure.
I can very easily see someone in my train of thought of what often happens in chiropractic offices is, I got in a car wreck. Let me go check this out. And this guy's like, don't worry. Don't talk to anybody else. I got you. I want to see you twice a week for the next amount of time or whatever.
I feel like with chiropractic, I don't think necessarily that Jesse is healing someone per se. I would say he would help speed up
the process of
recovery.
Love that.
Because I would talk to patients like, I don't know, I'm not healing you.
Because it's your natural body, right?
What I do is I'm just allowing you to, removing all the scar tissue, removing all the toxins, making sure your joints are moving so that your body can properly heal, right? And you can't do that without, again, doing muscle work, massages, manual therapy, and just passive movement and active movement.
And obviously not everyone that's going to heal everyone. So like, even with our wellness patients that first come in, right? Like there's some that like it's 2 times a week for the first 3 weeks. And if he noticed there's no signs, he'd be like, look, like obviously I did the best I could, you're still not getting better. Let me refer you out to something else, or a specialist or something, right? So we're not going to have them come in.
It's always about communication.
Right.
Sure.
I typically know when a patient's going to get better and not going to get better. And I don't drag it out.
How can you tell?
Man, just experience.
Really?
Well, it's
just
subjective too, right? Because you asked them. So it's
like,
subjective. Yeah.
If the second week they're like, Mass, I feel the same. After 4 visits, I feel the same. I feel the same. I feel the same. I was like, not even a little bit better. Nope, I feel the same.
How does that make you feel?
I mean, I can't heal everybody. I mean, I can't help
You
everybody,
can't help
right?
everyone.
That's very respectful of you to say.
I do the best that I can and hope that they get better. And that's what I tell every patient that
So you
I
gotta
see.
push your
I was
pride.
like, hey, I'm going to do my best to get you better. No guarantees. I have a crazy story. Like, obviously I had a patient or a mom that brought their kid because he had bedwetting problems. He was a high schooler. And she was like, I heard chiropractic can help with that. I was like, I'm not sure if it can help, all I can do is do, what I do. And nerves do control muscle function, organs and, all of that stuff. And so I was like, I can do what I do best and just treat the body. And sure enough, I treated him for 4 weeks and he said he got better. However, 8 weeks later, the mom sent the mail and she was like, hey, Dr. Cao, thank you for everything. You're such a huge help. But, it turns out he was actually lying. He still wets the bed. But I really appreciate you.
I should be laughing right now.
But I did feel good for that 4 weeks. And I was like, guys, I cured bedwetting, guys. I was like,
But you did save one's life, though. You saved somebody's life.
Yeah.
Like, remember about you caught the cancer or something early, right? Or
man,
a tumor?
I've caught a lot of cancers.
How can you, what? How?
Just from MRIs, ordering MRI and making the right decision or X-ray.
Oh my gosh.
So a crazy
That's why it's
story.
so important,
This
too.
this is a really crazy story. I've been treating this girl and her family for 3 to 4 years. She was a young girl. I started treating her whenever she was 11. I saw her whenever I see her regularly, like once a month, once every 3 months, once every 4 months. Anyways, fast forward, she's 15 or 16 years old. She's in high school. She came in and she was like, I was like, hey, how you doing? And then she was like, oh, I'm doing pretty good. I didn't want to tell you I'd had crazy headaches. I was like, oh, okay. What kind of headaches? I was like, where's your headache? She was like, it's right here in the middle of my head. And I was like, okay. And mind you, she's really happy. She's not in pain. She doesn't appear to be in pain or anything at all. She plays sports, volleyball, all that good stuff. And I was like, okay, how long does it last? And she was like, man, just like a few seconds. And I was like, huh, okay, that's interesting. And, mind you, her mom is sitting in the corner too. She doesn't seem to really care either because it's, people have headaches. And I was like, all right, cool. Well, how bad is the pain or how bad is your headache when it happens? She was like, it's an 8 out of 10. I was like, really? And how long does it last? It's like 1 to 2 seconds. I was like, okay. And she was like, yeah, it's been happening for a couple months now. I was like, man. And then her mom's like, yeah, just go ahead and adjust her. She'll be fine. She's probably stressed,
Because sometimes adjustments do help with headaches. Like,
Sure.
if I get a really
Yeah.
bad headache, I can adjust
She's
it.
normal function,
Yeah.
no weight gain, no nothing, nothing crazy. She's just a high schooler that plays sports. And I was like, all right, cool. I adjusted her. And then, something told me, I was like, man, I was like, I just went back to, I was like, so your headaches, is it really 8 out of 10? She was like, yeah, it's pretty sharp. It happens for how long? Does it happen for 30 seconds? She's like, no, just like 2.
So you're just reconfirming that she's not a teenager, like mixing things up.
Yeah, 2 to 3 seconds. And I was like, that's it. And it just goes away. I'm like, okay. I was like, you know what? Let's order an MRI. And so I ordered an MRI of the brain. And it's crazy because the girls at the front desk, whenever I put in orders, I give it to girls at the front. They're like, Dr. Cao, you're ordering a brain MRI? And I don't order brain MRIs often. I was like, yeah. And they're like super shocked. But, fast forward 2-3 days later, radiologist called me and was like, hey, that was a good catch. She had a midline shift in the brain. She's in emergency surgery right now.
Oh my, dude, just got like chills.
Yeah.
What's a
Yeah.
midline shift? What is that?
That's
Crazy.
when, I guess, I'm not a neurologist, but there's a shift in the brain. It shifts to the side a little bit.
Oh.
And then it could cause like fluid to leak and stuff.
Oh
Yeah,
my gosh.
and that was what was causing her sharp pains.
Wow.
And you know what's
Yeah.
crazy about that story is, I don't know what percent, I don't want to put a number on it, but a high percentage of chiropractors would probably just
Just adjust
say,
and go.
That's
let me get you an adjustment to make you feel better. I got
Yeah.
this.
no, that's what I'm saying. Yeah, you are
That's-
absolutely right.
That's
crazy.
so crazy.
Yeah, so we have a lot of interns at our clinic now because I like to teach and mentor the upcoming chiros, and I always tell them that story. I was like, always tread with caution, but always when you have a gut feeling or you feel like something's not right, order that MRI and don't adjust them. Like I didn't even adjust her neck. Actually, I didn't even adjust her. Period.
Would
I
that
was just
would that have made it worse? Possibly.
possible?
I mean, you don't know.
Yeah,
Like,
we
in
don't
the
know.
moment, you
Yeah,
don't
yeah,
know.
yeah,
so as
yeah,
a
yeah.
doctor, like you have
It's better to say
to,
not.
Yeah.
Yeah.
yeah, you
I
have
get
to
it, I
like
get
do
it.
what's right for the person in front of you.
Yeah, yeah.
Mm.
Right?
Right. And then, so that was one of my craziest stories. Whenever I first graduated, I had another story too. I actually ordered x-rays for this guy's shoulder. And, he was a smoker. He was a little bit older. But sometimes you can actually catch cancer on his shoulder. Because I kept asking him, I was like, hey, when's the last time you've been to a doctor? And he was like, I don't go to doctors. I don't believe in doctors.
Yeah.
I was like, well, if you haven't been to a doctor in a while, I'm going to go ahead and order an x-ray. And, man, we caught some lytic cancer in his bone.
What is that exactly?
Metastatic cancer. Yeah.
Okay.
Oh, just a cancer.
And it was
Yeah.
spreading, spreading to his bones. And he actually died a few months later.
Oh, man.
Yeah.
Yeah, so he had terminal cancer.
Yeah,
okay,
yeah. It was
Yeah.
too late
Yeah,
for
yeah.
in that
yeah.
situation.
But yeah, that was pretty sad too. But
Yeah.
man, if
But
you
you've saved a lot of people too, like just just because, it's just we don't do 100% whole, or he doesn't believe in 100% holistic, to where it's kind of
Yeah.
like, all right, this is abnormal.
Yeah.
You know?
Where do you think that like that mindset of like
I-
avoid doctors?
I do have one question.
Oh, yeah, go ahead,
though.
Sean,
I have one
please,
question
please.
about that last guy. How did he not go to doctors, but he ended up with you?
yeah, that's a good question.
That's so strange.
Because it's holistic,
Because-
right?
no,
Yeah,
no,
yeah.
Well, people
Yeah.
think of
So-
chiropractic as a holistic
Yeah.
practice,
Yeah,
not as
yeah.
a medical
Yeah.
practice.
So
Yeah.
I actually got him from a marketing event. We're at a booth at a AT&T, just some sort of marketing event, and I just had him sign up. I was like, hey, because like the whole point of marketing events is getting people to get on the schedule,
Right,
Yeah,
right.
yeah,
and then calling them and following up and making sure that they come.
Sure.
Anyways, I convinced him to come, and yeah, he came.
Dang. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Cool.
Otherwise, if I didn't convince him, he probably would never came.
Yeah.
Yeah. Why do you
Interesting.
think that? I mean, I'm curious of just the patient's thoughts. Why he would like, oh, I avoid doctors. I'm curious of your thoughts on that too. But my bigger question for you, as a professional in your practice is why do we have this like negative connotation to imaging and to like referring to like actual MDs?
Yeah.
Like, what's up with that?
With
As a chiropractor?
chiropractors,
Yes.
or-
Yeah.
As a
Man,
chiropractor, why?
Yeah, that's a tough call. Again, I think people are just stuck in their old ways and they just want to be a straight chiropractor, which is a pop and go, essentially.
Well, and there's a lot of people who believe that like your body like heals itself, So they're like they don't believe in medication. There's a lot of people that don't believe in that goes into chiropractic. Like think again of the crunchy moms or like the almond moms, If you eat good, you supplement yourself correctly, you work out and stuff like that. So ideally you would just be fine, right?
I mean, you'll be better.
Yeah.
But that doesn't mean
Yeah.
you don't
But-
need like actual
Yeah.
medical care.
Absolutely, but some people don't believe that. They're like, I don't need medical care. I can essential oils and supplements. That's all I need, right?
Yeah, that's
so
crazy.
and some
It's
some
so-
of those
that is
people
a
become into
wild
chiropractic
world.
because it's
Yeah.
very holistic. Chiropractic is holistic. So those holistic believers.
And some people just don't believe in doctors or they're poor or they just don't want to spend the money on their health, right? I mean, she grew up poor, and
Yeah, I still don't go. I'm really
whenever
bad about
whenever
doctors.
she got sick, her mom would give her cough drops as medicine.
Yeah, I don't. I'm really
Cough drop.
I'm still bad about taking medication.
Yeah.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, when you need it. But
No, I
you
still
know,
don't.
I personally, I think
Have
a
to
lot
be
of that
forced.
comes from greediness. Maybe is not the right word, but it's a little bit of greed.
It is.
And it's also they're afraid to lose a patient.
Yeah.
I
yeah.
think is another big part of it.
That
Like,
is,
if I
yeah.
refer them out, they might never come
They
back
might
and
not come
see
back.
me.
Mhm.
Yeah.
And that happens like as personal trainers, we have to know when to refer someone to actual physical therapy.
Right. Right.
And we won't take a client if they need physical therapy because we're stepping out of our bounds at that point.
Yeah.
But if I just wanted to retain this person and get my bills paid,
Yeah.
then I
get
could
what you're
convince
saying.
them for a period of time, hey, just stay anyways.
Right.
But
Right.
Yeah,
I mean,
so-
that's like, I feel like that's short term. When people that think like that's very short term, right?
Yeah.
Because then you
Yeah.
lose all credibility.
Yeah, instant gratification
Yes.
over a long
Yeah.
time.
Yeah, but
Like,
it's just a short term gain. You lose a lot of credibility if you do that. Versus like, he came into this because chiropractic is his passion, and he came into this wanting to make people feel better. So obviously the money, I mean, we all have to eat,
Sure.
But it was never like I'm going to be a chiropractor to get rich.
Mm-hmm.
So when me and him we first opened, one of his old patients followed through, and it was the craziest because I mean I've never seen him like he's Jesse. He's just Jesse.
Yeah.
to me,
She
right?
knows me
So
as Jesse.
I don't
yeah.
know him as Dr. Cao, right?
Right.
At the time I didn't. And this patient came in, homegirl couldn't even walk, y'all. Like her husband was holding her, carrying her.
How old was she?
Stiff as a board, maybe in her 40s or 50s. Like she came in, she was struggling, couldn't even put on her pants. Her husband had to help her put on her pants. She couldn't even sit by herself. Like her husband literally had to help her, right? And then, after 3 visits, she came in by herself,
Wow.
slowly. She can walk. She came in by herself, sat down by herself. Obviously you had to take some patience to get her there. After 4 or 5 weeks, she was good. And then she comes back when she hurts again,
Yeah.
but it's just crazy, to be I'm man, this, I know this sounds stupid, but man, he's actually a professional. He's actually changing
Maybe this guy,
lives.
knows
oh my
what
God.
he's doing.
Yeah,
You know?
Yeah. That's so
But,
funny.
yeah.
Maybe my kid's dad's maybe he kind of knows what's going
Yeah,
on.
Yeah.
But it's funny because I know he does that for a living, right? But to see it in action was really I was okay, it
Very
was
cool.
really rewarding and really cool to see him really help this person, right? Because she came in, there was other people who would come in in tears and just then they walk out so happy because they feel that much better, right?
Wow,
And
yeah.
it's awesome seeing that,
Yeah.
What is your role in the business?
I do the marketing.
Okay.
I do all the so basically I run the I'm the owner. So I do all of the owner
Back of house
Yeah.
stuff like
Okay.
billing,
marketing,
tax,
taxes,
all the fun
Ugh.
stuff.
accounting,
Yeah.
Lame.
getting
you know.
all of the anything that they need in the clinic,
staff training, damage control.
damage
Yeah.
control. I'm the bulldog.
Making sure patients are
Do you do
happy.
do you do the payroll
I
and
do,
the
yes, all that.
bookkeeping and everything?
Bookkeeping,
Security,
payrolls,
landscaping.
Yes. Everything. They're Jen,
Yeah.
we need more toilet paper.
So
all
what
right,
does
I got
Jesse
you.
do? Just hang out?
just a
or
doctor,
nap?
man. Just a
The
doctor.
whole
yeah.
point for that was because I wanted him to focus on patients, right?
Okay.
That's what he's good at,
Yeah.
focusing on patients. And then obviously with personal injury, we do have to make our connections with attorneys, and obviously our work speaks for itself, but we got to get in the door. So
Sure.
that's my role is to
Okay.
bring in the patients, and he retains the patients.
Wow.
So we
Cool little 1-2 punch you guys got going
Yeah.
on
Yeah,
here.
for sure.
I mean, it's been working so far. So.
Yeah, we're kind of trying to get there. So Denver worked in restaurants before,
Okay.
and she just quit her job last year to join us.
nice.
I got her personal training certification and all that stuff. And now when our Pearland location opens, my time will be split up, and then Justin, who's our director,
Yeah.
will be spending all of his time over there. But our long term is for
her to-
Denver to do very similar kind of to what I'm doing all of those things now, but I'm kind of teaching her, and we are struggling. We've hired it out a lot in the past, contracted it out and stuff like that. But I've noticed in the small business world,
No one's
everyone's
gonna care.
well, everyone's you don't need to be wasting your time doing those things. I hear that advice a lot.
I hear that a lot too.
and that's
Yeah.
kind of true sometimes,
Yeah.
but I found it to be a real pain. So I want her and myself to like be really comfortable with all these things that you're doing. Like I do all the marketing and she's starting to, and well, between me and Sean, like Sean and I's like minds together do our marketing because Sean creates the content and then I and puts it out there. And then I do like the marketing strategy.
Right.
Okay,
I guess
cool.
part of it.
But
right.
for us, I think very much so. You can't have somebody else grow your business for you because nobody cares about your business more than you do. Right. So like, I mean, like I'm stepping out of billing now. So I trained one of the girls to be a billing specialist and that's what she's going to be doing. So I'm stepping out of that role. There's I'm learning to delegate more because again, like we came from 84 patient visits a month. Now we're seeing over 1,000.
Wow.
Like a month. So it's a lot. And the more patients means more time. And it's not like I can only do so much. Right. So I've been learning to delegate more, but the number one thing that I will never delegate is the marketing and the relationships because like, especially when it comes to like attorneys and stuff like that, right? Because case managers, it's easier for them to go directly to the owner and you know
get a direct answer.
Exactly. Instead of having, so they have my number, like, you know, hey, so how's this patient doing? Have you sent this patient whatever yet? Hey, we need bills and records. Like, you know, so it comes directly to me and I mean, he lives with me, so I'm just like, bills and records.
He just happens to live there.
Records.
I feel like in the small business world, for sure, it's a lot of like, I'm too good for that, so let me hire it out and stuff like that.
Well, it's just too much for me at the end of the day.
What's the long term? What's the goal for? You guys have 2 offices now.
2 offices,
Right.
I think we want a third, and that's it.
Okay.
So I want
one
to
more.
ideally one more. I want to long term. I'm writing children's book. We started one already. I'm just looking for a publisher. I finished my book already.
Wow.
Dude, y'all do cool stuff, man. Like y'all got like a lot of cool stories
we have
and
a lot
shit.
of ideas,
Yeah.
but
like
we
cool
kind of spread
hobbies.
ourselves thin because we're just like
Well, for
so
him, he wants to
busy.
conquer the world. And I'm like, let's just do one step at a time. So like, that's why I set the goals, right? So I'm like, hey, once we do this, then we can do this. Once we do this, then we can do this. So right now, we're trying to grow Alvin. So my goal is to X amount of time. Like, you know, once we get X amount of patients in Alvin, then we can look for a third.
Okay.
Right.
Yeah.
So ideally, in my perfect world, 3 locations. I am passionate in education still. So I do want to train. I want to do like a plan for chiropractors, kind of like restaurant
restaurant
but
rescue, where you go
chiropractic
in
clinic
and
rescue,
you
right?
help restaurants become better.
Yeah.
And be more
Bar
efficient.
rescue, John.
Yeah.
John the
Bar
bar
rescue.
So kind of like
So,
that,
yeah.
but like obviously I'm
Chiro
not
rescue.
I'm not a
There you go.
chiro, so I'm not going to tell you how to treat.
Right.
But I know how to run a business, like you know, and I know how to market myself. So I want to be like, hey, let me sit and watch you, like you know, like as a teacher, best practices I do, we do, you do. So let me show you what. First, I'm going to see what you do. Then I'm gonna do it, and we're gonna do it together. Then you're gonna do it, like you know. So like,
I feel like some Hormozy vibes going over here. We got like Alex and Layla sitting here with us, you know. Like,
but yeah. So ideally, like I think at the end of the day, I think that's what I want to do.
Yeah.
Like you know,
okay.
And
help
it's,
people
I mean,
with
it's a
their
big market because a
businesses.
lot of chiros, I'm not gonna say they're struggling, but they're having a hard time, you know,
Getting their
scaling
name
their
out there.
business.
Oh,
right?
yeah.
And that goes with all businesses, right? And sometimes you might be a great doctor, but you're not a good businessman, right?
Yeah, I mean that that happens in small business all the time.
yeah.
You know, where have you ever like the E-myth? Are you familiar with the E-myth?
Yeah.
The E-myth is that just because you're good at something doesn't mean you'll be good at running a business at that thing.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
You know,
yeah.
and that definitely happens, you know,
Absolutely.
all the
Yeah,
time.
in the photo video world, a lot too.
Yeah, it
There's
happens
a lot,
in all industries.
Yeah, a lot of
Yes.
great creatives not great at actually doing the business part and stuff like
Yeah.
that. And growing
Yeah,
and
because
scaling.
it's just
It's tough.
It's just way different, you know. And then, do you ever, for you guys, do you ever like think about your business and you're like, oh my gosh, this is so, like, it's not doing good and this and that, and then you go, like you said, a lot of them are struggling. Same thing in gyms. A lot of gyms and trainers are struggling. And you go and you see what their like numbers are and like how they're struggling, and then you're like, oh my gosh, maybe like I am doing something
Honestly,
right. Does that ever happen to you?
I feel like we're an outlier, right? So
Yeah.
like when we first started, I'm not gonna lie, there were times where we would come in for 2 patients and they will both cancel and we'll just go home. And that happened a lot the first month, right?
Sure, yeah.
But I feel like we were the outlier to where we just grew so fast. And like I remember being heavily pregnant and it was a good problem to have. I would sit there and just cry because it was just so much on our plate. But the thing about personal injury is you don't get paid right away. So you don't get paid until like a year and a half, 2 years later.
What?
Or
So
even 3
we
years
had,
later, 4 years.
yeah,
Really?
we still have a
We're
lot
still
of
getting a lot of
cases.
checks coming from 2022.
2020, yeah.
Oh my
Yeah,
god!
like if we go to the mailbox right now, there's probably a check waiting for us
Yeah,
from that.
so
Yeah.
it was long term for us. It was like the long term. Like
But-
we it was
yeah.
so. Anyways, so like we would see 100 something patients or whatever, right? At the time, it was like we were just trying to get 100 a week, and we would see like maybe
Yeah.
100 a week or something, right?
And we're working on a lean, right? So
On
we're
a
not getting
lean.
paid for
85% of our business
you
is
know.
on a lean, right?
Yeah.
So like it was just we had the patients, like, but we didn't have the money to hire someone on. So again, I was doing all of this. And it was just me and him for so long. So I'll sit there and just cry in the shower. So he's like, hey, this is not forever. This is not forever. In 2024, up until like October 2023, October 2023, we will pay our staff and only have $200 to our name. There are so many times
That was last
I
year,
would
right?
just,
Or 2
2
years?
years ago.
2 years
It's
ago.
because 2025 now.
2025.
But yeah, so like almost last year, pretty much. So like up until October, we were like, hey, we're gonna be okay, right? Like I was
Yeah.
gonna be like, pay.
Dude,
everything.
I've
It's like,
been there. I remember whenever we first hired our first couple of trainers. You know, we still Kevin has been with us for over 3 years,
Wow.
and you know when Kevin started, he made more than I did.
Man.
And
It's
so
like
we
that.
didn't pay
You
ourselves.
have
It's
to
yeah.
make that
part. It's part of
sacrifice.
the.
It's part of
It's
it.
part of the journey.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
it was really scary, especially having 2 kids at the time, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And after October, that's when money started cutting in. We're like, okay, we're good. We're
Yeah.
good now. So now I feel like I can finally invest in the people who's helped us, like our staff that wants to
And
stay
who
long
stayed
term.
loyal
You know,
and
so
been
that
with
now I'm
us.
giving them more admin work. So I'm giving them more admin pay. Like, you know, so like I'm
Yeah.
able to invest in them now. But it was
Yeah, it was
really
a
hard.
struggle. It was a
That's
struggle.
crazy.
So it wasn't that
But,
we thought
yeah.
that we weren't doing good compared to our peers, because honestly, like we were the outlier. Like you don't grow 1,000 patients a month business in 3 years. That's not a normal thing. You know, like we were when we first started, we only wanted 10 new patients a month. And then like month 3, we're seeing 40 to 50.
You look
new
back at your
patients.
old goals and you're like, what were you thinking?
Yeah.
Yeah, but like
Yeah,
I mean,
yeah,
you
I've been
can
there.
but like honestly, a normal practice, if you can get 10 people to walk in your door a month, new patients,
That's a good thing.
Same thing in
That's a
personal
good
training.
thing,
Yeah.
you
Yeah, I
know?
mean that's like a crazy.
That's a crazy
Yeah,
amount, you
But
know?
yeah.
But we were seeing 30 to 40, and then it was like 50 new patients a month. And we're just like, what the fuck just happened?
But
Right.
yeah, we always say, to ourselves, and we just
Keep our
looked
head
at keep our head down and just kept working because one of her favorite quotes is comparison is a thief of joy.
Oh yeah.
So
100%.
at the end of the day, you
hard to
can
remember
compare
that.
yourself. You compare yourself to a guy down the street, or compare yourself to a guy in
Whatever.
a different
There's
city.
always gonna be someone better than you.
There's always gonna be someone that's better than you. There's always gonna be someone that makes
Below
more money
you.
than you. There's always gonna be somebody better.
Yeah.
And so you can't
We only compare for
Yeah.
last year. So
Yeah.
every time we compare, it's just month by month.
We
Like,
always-
this is what we did this month. This is what
Yeah.
we did last month. How can we like
So it's
Yeah.
focusing on like
Growth.
beating ourselves, right?
Yeah, I always remember a quote. Actually, love him or hate him, Grant Cardone. A lot of people don't like him for various reasons or whatever. But when I first got in entrepreneurship, it's someone that I listened to
Grant
a lot.
Cardone,
Yeah.
yeah.
And there was a quote that he said, "The only competition I have is my own potential."
mm,
And I just always remember that. My only competition, or the only person I want to strive to be, is my own potential. Like I want to
Absolutely.
fulfill my potential.
absolutely.
And like anytime I'm feeling down about comparison with someone else, like, well, what is my potential? Am I moving towards it? And that's all that matters.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
And slow growth is still growth.
Yep.
That's why I
Yeah.
always tell him too. Slow growth is still growth. you
that's
know?
so true. Well, guys, I hate to have to wrap it up because I have a phone call here in just a couple
of
minutes that I have to
course.
hop on. But I could ask lots of questions and I'd
For
like
sure,
to ask
for
more.
sure.
But before we do wrap up, I do want to say that Jesse, I've known you for a few years, and Jen as well. But it's been at least 4 or 5 years,
Yeah.
probably since I've
It was
seen
still for
you
kids.
guys.
Connected,
Yeah.
yeah.
Last time I saw you, I wasn't even pregnant with the first one.
Oh,
yet.
okay.
Yeah,
Yeah, it's
yeah.
definitely been a while.
Yeah.
Oh,
I
yeah,
didn't-
we met up through Michael Drove.
Yeah.
That's right. Yes.
Yeah,
Yep.
yeah.
I was telling Denver earlier how I knew you guys,
Yeah.
and but I didn't know kind of what you had going on, or I knew
Yeah.
obviously that you're a chiropractor, but that's
Yeah.
pretty much it. I didn't know if you guys were doing it chiropractors
yeah.
together.
I
I
get
didn't
it,
know.
I get it.
And I waited until the show to
Yeah.
ask because I wanted to kind of talk
secretly,
about that.
I've been following you because when I first met you, I really respected you for,
Putting
taking that
yourself
leap
out
of
there,
faith.
man, it's hard.
Because when I first met you, and again, you're just holding your food and we're filling that thing. You look stressed. I was like, man,
Yes.
I fucking respect this guy. I
Yeah, it's a
really
very
respect
stressful
you.
time. I
And,
mean, it still is.
You
but-
took a leap of faith and you started a
You bet on
business,
yourself,
and it looks
man.
like you're thriving. So
Call it what you
congrats,
want.
man.
It's getting there, and I just want to say I really respect what you guys have, not only in
Appreciate
your
it.
professional life but in your personal life. Now
Appreciate it.
I'm newly married,
Yeah,
just
congrats.
2 months ago, and Denver now works here, and it has its struggles.
Can I give you one advice?
Please?
Leave work at home.
Or
Or leave
yeah,
work
yeah.
at work.
Work at
Do
work.
not bring it
Yeah.
at home. He
Mm,
talks
yeah.
about work at 4 o'clock.
We
in the
argue a
morning.
lot.
Yeah,
I never
I mean,
argued so
yeah.
much with this man until we started working together. And sometimes I'm like, I hate working with you.
Uh-huh.
You know,
Yeah.
like we've been together for 15 years, and this last 3 years, I'm just like, what time is it? Wait, one more thing. What time is it? It's 3 a.m. Okay, why are you still talking about work? I can't do anything right now. You
Yeah.
know?
Well, it's just like it's his
Yeah.
passion, and it's the same
Yeah,
for me.
yeah,
It's
yeah.
very
Well,
difficult.
no, it's
you know?
it's a to-do list. Don't give her a laundry list of things to do. You
Yeah.
know, it's one thing to vent, right? Or like one thing to be happy about whatever, but it's like, oh, you need to do this. Don't forget to do this. You need to do this. You need to do this. I'm like, it's 3
Yeah.
o'clock in the morning.
It's
I
a
don't wanna hear
struggle,
this
though.
right
It's a
now.
Yeah, I'm
struggle.
sure it
He's
is.
working on it this year, though.
Yeah.
He's working on
You
it.
said, wait, one more time. You said, make it a to-do list, not
He
a.
gives me a
Oh.
to-do list at 3 a.m. in the morning.
Okay, gotcha.
And I'm like,
It's like,
hey,
did you
did you
call
call
that
this
thing?
patient? Hey, did you talk to this attorney? Did you see this email? I'm like,
Okay,
bro,
gotcha,
it's 3
gotcha.
o'clock in the morning. Like, I'm trying
try-
to sleep. Like, I'm watching like my Korean drama right now. Like, I'm clocked out. You know?
Watching the Korean
Yeah.
novellas, I love it.
Well, I have a lot of good takeaways. I can't wait to see the clips that we get out of this.
Yeah.
I'm gonna listen
For
back
sure,
to
for
them,
sure.
and
Pretty high, pretty high.
gonna keep me motivated for sure. Especially just again, like to see y'all doing it together is
It's
just
hard.
the
Appreciate
coolest
it.
thing. So keep at it. Don't quit. I already know that you won't, but just a little reminder. And this conversation really motivated me as well. So
Any way we can
Cool,
help,
man.
just let us
For
know.
sure, for
Well,
sure.
was there any last words? Anything you want to throw out there? All your social medias and stuff like that. I guess you know.
I mean, yeah, if
Just-
you have Instagram, follow us on Cao Integrated.
Spell Cal for us.
CAO
There you go.
and then Integrated, INTEGRATED.
And Just Spine HTX.
Oh, that's our Alvin location.
Yeah.
Follow Dr. Tori.
All right, guys. Well, dude, I super appreciate your time.
For sure,
You're
for
welcome
sure.
back anytime. There's definitely like a few of the topics we could have gone way deeper on, but again, it's been
Yeah.
years since we've seen each other since we talked.
Absolutely.
So I appreciate you guys coming on and hope to hear the what are you going to call your podcast? And even thinking about it.
Just Tea podcast.
Where we sip on coffee and spill the tea.
nice, nice. I love it.
I like it. All right. Well, I can't wait.
I want
to
to be
see
on.
it.
I want to be on the episode. That's
Yeah,
awesome.
I can't wait.
Once we
Sure,
figure it
for
out.
sure.
Once we figure it out.
Yeah.
We'll
Well,
let
whatever help you guys need, but
Yeah, any consulting, you got me.
yeah,
Absolutely.
dude,
Absolutely.
take care of it for you guys. So yeah, again, thank you so much, and guys, like, subscribe, and we'll see you next time.
Peace.
Bye.